y'all. Rick Smiley Morning Show. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, joining us this morning out of Los Angeles. Y'all help me give it up for America's favorite nurse, Nurse Alice Benjamin. Big round of applause.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Hey, we happy to have you back on the show to talk about something that we really need to talk about. So street drugs have taken another dangerous turn, and it's because of fentanyl. Just this weekend, stand-up comedian Fuquan Johnson was among 3 people who died of a suspected overdose at a party in L.A., and a 4th person was taken into the hospital in critical condition. TMZ reports that those who died had taken cocaine laced with fentanyl. Also, sadly, New York Police Department sources now say Emmy-nominated actor Michael K. Williams likely died of an overdose as well. Now, Nurse Alice, I know you have 23 years of experience as a clinical nurse specialist and family care nurse practitioner. Can you start by just explaining exactly what fentanyl is and why even the smallest amounts can be deadly?
Yes, so fentanyl is a very, very powerful synthetic opioid, and it's similar to morphine, but it's 50 to 100 times more potent. So in its prescription form, we usually give it in the hospital for pain, but it's being made on the streets illegally. And because of its potency, and they're not regulating this in street drugs, they're not even telling people this is in their street drugs, but because of that euphoric feeling and because it's so potent, even the slightest baby hair of too much is enough to paralyze all of your muscles, cause sedation. It suppresses your breathing to the point where you can actually stop breathing, you lose all bodily function, and you can go into respiratory distress, become unconscious, and enter into a coma and actually die from this. It's very dangerous, extremely dangerous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the things that you specifically are seeing and hearing while in the hospital as it relates to fentanyl overdoses?
So I'm in the emergency room, so I'm seeing people come in with paramedics. They're being resuscitated as they're coming in. They're being given Narcan as they're actively being rolled into the emergency room. And what I'm seeing is all of my colleagues in the emergency room are younger men, mostly men, between the ages of 20 to 40, roughly, people with very promising careers, people who you would look at and wouldn't suspect are drug users. And fortunately, when we're able to resuscitate them and get them well enough to talk to us, they'll say, you know what, I was just partying. I didn't know these were in my drugs. I was just trying to have a little bit of fun. So these are people who are trying to have a good time, but they're using drugs not knowing that their drugs are laced with things like fentanyl.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to just address that same thing that you just said, that people are doing this unknowingly, taking the fake pills and the laced cocaine.
Yes. And, obviously we don't want anyone using recreational drugs because it's bad for you and dangerous. But what drug dealers are doing is they're stretching their drugs because fentanyl is very cheap to make, very potent. So they can, deliver a smaller amount of drug laced with fentanyl. The buyer thinks like, oh, I'm getting a better high out of this. I'm more euphoric feeling. It feels better. But really, it's not. It's more dangerous. It's lethal. You're getting a dose of death, basically, in the drugs that you're buying. But buyer beware, because you feel good because it's more dangerous. So even the slightest baby hair amount, and I'm not even kidding when I say baby hair amount, that's how meticulous we are when we give it to someone. And I give it in the hospital for someone who's been in a train wreck. You've been hit by a bus or you have irretractable cancer.
Right.
It's for that type of pain. But, they're transitioning into their street drugs, stretching their drugs. So the drug dealer is making their drugs go further, but they're even more harming, the customers. They, don't sell it anyways, but even more so by lacing it with fentanyl.
Right.
That is so scary. Nurse Alice, I have 2 young adult sons, 19 and 21, and this is really starting to affect younger people. What should parents of teens and young adults look out for?
That's an interesting question. I get that a lot. And so parents, we got to be on the lookout for our young people. But I'm going to say young people, be on the lookout for your friends, your cousins, your colleagues, because you never know who could be using this, especially with, everyone's depressed because of the pandemic. We're seeing an increase in use. But we got to have these conversations. We got to talk to people about, what are you really smoking? What are you really using? Let's have some candid, non-judgmental conversations out of love. So we got to talk about it. Let's talk about the dangers of fentanyl. And if you're around someone who you believe might be using, I know this don't sound like the thing to do, but it's going to save their life. You need to have some Narcan around. Now, you don't need to push for this. You can go to your local drug. Narcan. So Narcan is the reversible agent for fentanyl. So when someone is overdosing, we in the hospital would give Narcan. We would give an IV, but now because of our epidemic with drugs, you can now buy an inhaled version. You can spray it in their nose, or you can actually give them a shot in their leg. It's kind of like an EpiPen, but for drugs. I hate to use that analogy, but that's just what it is. You can go to the store and just buy it. No questions asked. Don't need a prescription. But if you're around someone who you suspect this, we really recommend that you have Narcan on hand, and sometimes more than one dose, because in the hospital we're giving multiple doses. And, if someone is partying, don't take anything that you don't know what it is, y'all. These drug dealers their drugs are not FDA approved, not running through no checks. You don't know what's in it, and especially mixing it with alcohol and other drugs. It's very dangerous. So let's start to have these conversations and get people counseling.
A friend of mine that worked at a funeral home, they go and pick up bodies, and said that he is picking up people that have taken fentanyl and the unvaccinated. He said that's what they're literally. He told me that this past. My friend, my classmate Desi worked at a funeral home, and they go pick up bodies, and that's what they picking up. They picking up young people that died of fentanyl and the unvaccinated. It's all right there on the charts after autopsies and stuff like that. Let's go to the phone. Good morning.
Yeah, I just lost my brother-in-law a week ago from fentanyl, and that fentanyl is so crazy. You can die from just a grain of salt worth of fentanyl. It's a mess.
So I lost my cousin last year, when the pandemic had just started, along with the mother of his child. They both died at the same time due to, fentanyl. And it's just like the streets won't talk. And it's like, it's hard to deal with. Like, these people need to be brought to justice.
Well, I have a grandson about 27 years old, and he, for some unknown reason, started using this, and now he has seizures, and he cannot live without seizure medicine, all because of fentanyl.
Been a little over a year now. Last year, May the 12th, I lost my daughter 2 weeks after her 18th birthday. She didn't even get a chance to walk the line, her graduation, because someone gave her fentanyl in a pill that they had given to her the night she went out, 2 weeks after her 18th birthday. No investigation was done. They didn't try to find out. When this stuff is happening in the black neighborhood, they don't care. But it's not reported like in the white neighborhood. It's been hard. It's been hard. After her 18th birthday, somebody gave her a pill with fentanyl and it killed her.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I lost a niece and a nephew this year. And it's hard. I'm just sitting up here looking at my niece Micah pictures just now, right before the segment, and I'm just really devastated. We went to the Bahamas, and 2 weeks after that, she was dead. And they both, and my niece died on my nephew's birthday on August the 1st, and beautiful people. They were both very respectful. They was awesome. Everybody loved them. They were nice. They had their share of problems, which obviously drugs, what they were dealing with was one of them. And I just want to try to talk about this and say, like, y'all, please talk to your kids. Please get in their business, see what they're doing, talk to their friends. They got some friends that don't get high. They will tell it. Yep. I got street connections that I ask about certain nephews and different family members. Hey, what's going on? And they will tell you. Because they be concerned as well. They all the same age, but, they ain't out here doing, it ain't all of them. So if you find the ones that's not doing it, they will tell you and kind of give, and go get them help. There's all kind of programs out here to get them help, get them the help that they need so they can save their life. Nurse Alice, thank you so much for this information. We always, thank you for getting up so early to talk to us because we know you on California time. For those who want more information or how to follow you on social media, where could they go?
You can follow me on all social media platforms at Ask Nurse Alice, and that's exactly what I mean. Please ask me your questions. I'll try to answer them, point you in the right direction. And you can also visit me on my website at asknursealice.com. Tons of articles and health information there, too.
Hey, thank you so much, Nurse Alice. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all.